Today, in the United States, the number one cause of preventable death is substance use. Everyone has heard about the opioid epidemic or the staggering impact of meth. But what exactly are these addictive substances, and why are they so problematic? Addictive substances are any drugs that can cause habitual misuse, leading to a pattern of risky or harmful behavior. Addictive substances include both legal drugs, such as alcohol and nicotine, and illegal drugs, such as heroin or cocaine. A substance use disorder, also called addiction, is determined by a person's inability to control their use of alcohol and other drugs, even when they want to. These substances become addictive because they affect the brain's neurotransmitters, or chemical messengers, that communicate between brain cells, also known as neurons. Addictive substances will flood the brain with high doses of these feel-good neurotransmitters. Because it feels good, the brain wants to do this again and again. Over time, the brain needs more and more of these substances to feel the same effect, and when use is stopped, the person often goes through uncomfortable withdrawals. Eventually, they may not be able to stop using. This is why addiction is called a brain disease. People consume addictive substances for a variety of reasons. They may want to relieve stress or trauma, escape reality, or just fit in with peers who drink or take drugs. People also use alcohol and other drugs to feel good, at least in the beginning.
In general, people abuse a pretty narrow range of substances. And those substances have a few things in common, but at the end of the day, it produces some subjective effect that people like. In many cases, they like the euphoric properties of the substance. And so the so-called recreational use of substances involves that. People enjoy being altered in a pleasurable way. Although I will say a lot of people are using substances almost like a medication. They're self-medicating in a way. And so they're not so much after the euphoric properties of substances, they're after what the substance does in terms of symptom relief. So if somebody is primarily anxious, they may like the anxiolytic or anxiety-reducing properties of alcohol. If people struggle with energy and focus, they may like the activation associated with cocaine or methamphetamine. And so it depends on the user, what they're after.
With regular substance use, a person may experience cravings, changes in behavior, and may become obsessed with finding and using their substance of choice. These are common symptoms of a substance use disorder. Addictive substances come in a wide variety of forms, including pills, powder, dried, or liquid. There are many ways to ingest them. Depending on the drug, they may be smoked, vaped, snorted, sniffed or huffed, swallowed, injected, or absorbed on a paper that can be dissolved on the tongue. When dried, some substances can be brewed as a tea. Addictive substances are commonly classified into different categories, often by their chemical similarities. This can be helpful in treatment because someone who has an addiction to one drug may have a cross-addiction to a chemically similar drug. However, these similar drugs can have very different legal and medical consequences. Drugs that speed up the central nervous system are stimulants. Stimulants include amphetamines such as Adderall and methamphetamine, cocaine, bath salts, and products containing nicotine. Drugs that slow down the central nervous system are depressants. Basically, they depress brain activity. Alcohol is the most common depressant. Others include Rohypnol, GHB, benzodiazepines such as Valium, Ativan, and Xanax. Some of these latter drugs have a legitimate medical purpose, such as the treatment of sleep disorders, anxiety, stress, and panic attacks, if used as prescribed by a doctor. The problem comes when people misuse them for their calming effects. Cannabis is second only to alcohol in use by all ages of the population. It is technically a depressant, but can also cause hallucinations. Cannabis includes marijuana, hashish, and synthetic forms of these products. Opioids are one of the most addictive substances. They produce feelings of euphoria and reduce pain. They include heroin, morphine, opium, and fentanyl. Hallucinogens and dissociative drugs alter a person's perception of reality. Common hallucinogens include LSD, psilocybin, and MDMA. Dissociative drugs include PCP, salvia, and DMT. Some are made in a lab, while others come from plants. Inhalants are often the first drug of experimentation for youth because most are unregulated and often found in homes, schools, and garages. They include many common products such as gasoline, glue, aerosols, cleaning solvents, and whippets. The fumes found in these chemicals diminish the supply of oxygen to the brain. The effects are immediate and include euphoria, relaxation, and hallucinations. Another way to classify these substances is by their legal status. In 1970, because of the alarming rise of drug use, the federal government passed the Controlled Substances Act. From the act, the DEA created 5 legal classifications for drugs. The classifications, or schedules, are based on several factors, including a drug's value for medical purposes, the likelihood of abuse and addiction, and the risk to public health, among others. Schedule 1 drugs have the highest risk for abuse with no current accepted medical use. Examples include heroin, LSD, and GHB. Schedule 2 drugs also have the highest risk for abuse but have a current accepted medical use. Morphine, PCP, cocaine, and fentanyl are examples of Schedule 2 drugs. Schedule 3 drugs have less potential for abuse and have current accepted medical uses. They include steroids, barbiturates, and codeine. Schedule 4 and 5 drugs have less potential for abuse, although they could lead to dependence. They have current accepted medical uses. Examples are anti-anxiety drugs like Ativan and Valium, and cough medicine with codeine. People often consume these addictive substances to feel better. Initially, they might be effective. However, these substances are risky and can have serious consequences over time. People who take them can easily lose control as the drugs take over their lives. Help is available if you or someone you love has a problem with addictive substances.